On Sunday, August 4, 1985, the St. George Syrian Orthodox Church, one of the largest churches in Syria, was filled to overflowing. There were over 10,000 people inside alone. Priests of almost every religion were there. The crowds pushed Myrna around. It was hot. She fell backwards. The crowds thought the heat got to her, so they laid her down on 2 chairs and tried to cool her. What they didn't know was that she was in an ecstasy. The Holy Mother spoke to her.
The church is the kingdom of heaven on earth. He who divided it has sinned. He who is happy with these divisions has also sinned. Through your example, I will educate my generation.
August 14, 1985, was the Feast of Assumption. The anticipation was very high. Something always happens during this feast. Almost 500 people were packed in the small house. Hundreds more were outside in the street. Gradually, the room and the people began to disappear from her eyes and mind. The light seemed to pull her away from earthly thoughts and distractions. When the cleansing was complete, Myrna saw the Virgin Mother. She was dressed in blue and white and was shining like bright diamonds. The Virgin Mary spoke.
Happy feast day. My feast is when I see all of you gathered together. Your prayer is my feast. Your faith is my feast. The unity of your hearts is my feast.
100% pure olive oil covered her hands and face. It began dripping off her fingertips. It continued to exude as she lay watching her vision. Although normal olive oil will stain, oil exuding from Myrna does not. Oil drips even from the tip of her nose and eyelids. When the vision ends, the oil will simply disappear. For a while, she only saw the white light. When the vision ended, she started becoming aware of the people in the room, but she could not see them. She passed on the message to Father Maluli. September 7, 1985, the eve of the birth of Mary. The crowds were again big in the little house of Soufanieh. During the prayer, oil started forming in her hands, and then it just burst out on her face. It also came out of her eyes. Her eyes were on fire. She wanted to dig at her eyes. The pain was more than she could handle. This purging of the eyes has a theological meaning, but Myrna is not aware of that. To her, it is just pain. To her, it is a sign that she will see the Lord. Her mother continues to remove the oil. Gradually, the pain starts decreasing. As always, Father Maluli timed and wrote down everything. At this point, the pain in her eyes has already stopped. She is starting to see the white light that will prepare her for her vision of Christ. I am the Creator. I created her to create me. Rejoice for heaven's joy, because the daughter of the Father, the Mother of God, and the bride of the Spirit is born. Rejoice for the earth's joy, because your salvation has been realized. Myrna was also invited to Jordan. On September 10, 1985, she attended a Mass at the Greek Orthodox Church. The sermon was delivered by Father Soufanieh. During this Mass, Myrna's hands exuded oil twice. Once during Mass, and a second time during a gathering with the faithful after Mass. She anointed all of the attenders with her thumb. On October 10, 1985, Myrna attended Mass in Lebanon. The crowd was very large. Over 10,000 people were inside the church, and many more outside. Her father and her husband were with her. Her hands started to exude oil. The people became crazed. They all wanted to touch her, take hair from her, a piece of her clothing. She tried to talk to them, plead with them, but they would not listen to her. Myrna's life was almost in danger. Nicholas and her father couldn't stop the people. Suddenly, oil began coming out of the huge crucifix on the wall of the church. The crowd ran to the crucifix, taking oil off the legs of Christ. This allowed Myrna to get away. The oil from the cross probably saved her life. On the third anniversary of the phenomenon, November 26, 1985, Myrna fell into another ecstasy. Oil poured from her face, eyes, neck, hands, and feet. The oil in her eyes was causing her great pain. Then her breathing stopped, but her heart was beating very fast. Her face turned pink and glowed through the oil. She seemed serenely peaceful now. She had drifted away from her body. The attending priests and the crowd sang and prayed the rosary. A few doctors were there to experiment and investigate. They applied pins in her fingers and in her toes. She gave no reaction, not the slightest move. But later, after awakening from her vision, she would feel the pain. She drifted away from her body and went towards the light.